Welcome to the Essential Zodiac Podcast with your host, Astrologer Cynthia McNulty.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Essential Zodiac Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia McNulty.
And I'm Audrey Fannin with Muddy Creek Studios.
So today we have a couple of astrological events to talk about besides the Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse. So let's get into it. In the beginning of the month, our friend Mercury entered retrograde motion, screwing up life for the rest of us.
Thanks, Mercury.
Yeah. But since we can't hide in bed with the covers pulled over our head, although some days that is appealing, here is what we could do. Well, Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Taurus. Things seem particularly slow. So put your patience hat on, because no matter how much we push, the energy is slow and plodding, and it's only going to frustrate us. So just realize it's going to take longer. Something is going to take longer than you anticipated. When Mercury is in Taurus, our thinking is down to earth. It is interested in common sense. It helps us to think clearly. It doesn't give in to fanciful thinking. Also, Taurus is in charge of our finances. It's an earth sign. It's all about looking at the bottom line. So that's another good thing we can do while Mercury is in retrograde is adjust our budget, look over our long-term finances. You don't want to start anything new. That's the one caution about Mercury in retrograde when it comes to our finances. Don't, especially big ticket items, don't put money down to buy a house. Don't necessarily buy a car. I mean, sometimes we have to, but if at all possible, research your big ticket items, research your expensive items, but don't do anything until Mercury goes direct in a couple of weeks.
Well, certainly contracts will play a part in that as well for those big ticket items.
Contracts are not good. You don't want to plan a wedding during Mercury retrograde because that is a contract as well. The only time I would say that planning a wedding during Mercury retrograde is if you were remarrying the same person. And I had that happen with a client. Her and her husband had gotten a divorce, and a couple of years later, they ran into each other, and things were better, and they got married during a Mercury retrograde. And they're still happily married and still in love like 7 years later. So that is the only time I would say Mercury in retrograde is okay for weddings.
Oh, that's great. The energy was better. Yes,
it's a do-over. That's what, that retrograde energy is. It's a do-over. It's a revise, So, yes, it was, I love that story. So our next astrological event is Jupiter is moving out of Pisces for a few weeks and dipping a toe into Aries. Now, this happened a few days ago on May 10th. So Jupiter will stay in Aries until November, and then it will go back into Pisces. So Jupiter is going to be in Aries during its retrograde period. And this will give us a taste of what that energy is like, because we're coming from a very spiritual, mystical place of Pisces and moving into aggressive, energetic, me-focused Aries. So that energy is going to be quite different. And to remember, Jupiter, our largest planet in the solar system, everything it touches expands. sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. And sometimes it's not so good. You want your pocketbook to expand, but you don't want someone's ego to expand. But Aries is a fire sign. With a fire sign in Jupiter, we're going to identify strongly with our own opinions. And those who disagree with us, it's going to be, a major conflict, because it's with the me first energy of Aries. It's like they're attacking you personally. So watch out for that. People can have opinions that you don't necessarily agree with, and it's still okay. I think that's hopefully a lot of what is going on right now, and we can kind of mitigate that and look at both sides of the coin. But the good part of Jupiter being in Aries is it'll give us initiative. We'll be the one to take the reins to make things better for ourselves. We're going to be the ones who push forward. So we'll have, you'll definitely look at having faith in ourselves, but be careful for, over expansion. Don't spread yourself too thin. It's going to look very attractive to have several goals, before you, or, a couple of plates spinning in the air. But you're going to overload yourself. It's going to be too much. So don't promise the sky, keep it simple so that you don't frustrate yourself.
Well, I'm kind of hearing a theme, over these past couple of episodes of don't overextend yourself.
Yeah, that seems to be the recurring theme, is keep everything manageable and stress-free that way. So it's like, keep it simple.
If you like what you're hearing, consider contributing to Cynthia's page on Patreon. For those of you that have, thank you so much. Cynthia's vision for Essential Zodiac Podcast is to provide valuable and reliable information on a variety of topics related to astrology. To name a few, new and full moons, important monthly transits, and unique astrological happenings. By supporting her through Patreon, you'll allow her to record new episodes consistently, as well as to continue to improve the quality of the podcast. While the podcast will always remain free, there are some benefits for contributing through Patreon. Check it out and see the goodies she's offering. Now, on to the moon.
Thank you, Audrey. So we have the full moon in Scorpio. The full moon is a culmination. It started with the new moon, and it expanded till we get to the full moon. On May 16th, the energy of the moon peaks, and then it'll wane until the new moon coming. So let's take some time to reflect on what the full moon brings for you. Go outside at night and let the light of the moon, shine on you. Watch the moon, get in tune with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight. Now, the full moon for this cycle is in Scorpio. And Scorpio is a very misunderstood sign. Scorpio is a water sign. It's ruled by Pluto. It's very intense. Yes, Scorpion energy can be secretive, possessive, jealous, but it's really more about transformation and renewal. It's how can I make it better? We may not like the methods. It may be like just ripping that Band-Aid off. But in the end, we'll all benefit from it. So this moon is going to ask us to transform the fears that we have buried. And we all have them. We all spackle over, deny, suppress, fears, because either we feel it makes us look weak, or, we're afraid, we don't want to bring the monster out of the closet. But that's only going to harm us in the end. With the Scorpio full moon here, it could be about a reckoning. It's a closure, a catharsis, if you would, bringing an end, to that thing you have in the closet that you don't want to talk about, but that gives you anxiety. Then on top of Scorpio being an intense full moon, it's also a lunar eclipse. Eclipses amplify the moon's energy. In this case, it's amplifying the full moon in Scorpio. So it's not just 2 weeks of energy, it could be up to 6 months. So it really will be helpful to seek out whatever we need to uncover. Because sometimes it won't be like you're not going to wake up the next day and think, oh, it's this that I have to get rid of. It may take a few days or a few weeks to come to light. You may already know, but it's going to take you a little time to do whatever you have to do.
If only it was as quick as overnight.
Right. It never is. No, it's never overnight at all, which is frustrating, but unfortunately true. So as this full moon gets closer, we're forced to take action. You want to let your soul grow, and soul growth is by taking action and doing the hard stuff. But we have the moon, to help us out, to give us the courage to do that. We tap into that full moon energy. It's going to give us tenacity. Another positive energy for us to work with is this full moon lunar eclipse harmonizes with Mars, Neptune, and Pluto. It does form a square to Saturn, but what this combination is going to do for us, it's going to give us conviction and a willingness to make the necessary changes. Saturn will come along and show us where the obstacles are that we can then remove. We can figure out how to get rid of those. So for the signs, the fixed signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius will get the most out of this eclipse. This is a sign for steady growth. So if any of you out in my listening public are looking to make changes, this full moon is a good time to get those started as a fixed sign. The moon will be asking you to move out of your comfort zone, but that's sometimes what it takes. We have to, if we want to make a change, we have to change. And moving out of our comfort zone, of course, is one of the ways we do that. So now, what about the rest of the signs? Well, Aries, this is very positive. You'll see a major boost in your happiness. You will look for things that you can enjoy. So you'll get a boost of enjoying your life, looking for maybe a new hobby or something that brings you joy. Gemini, the good news is that it's a good time for you to quench your thirst for wanderlust. This moon will inundate you with confidence. Maybe it's time to definitely take that trip. For Cancer, the post-lunar eclipse period will be delightful in terms of family bonding. Any past issues will get resolved, and there could be a much-needed peace in your relationship. Virgos out there, the eclipse will motivate you to pay attention to your health. Certainly, you will have the motivation to exercise, but maybe there's a doctor's appointment you've been putting off, so maybe you might want to not put it off anymore. Libra, this is an excellent time, if you're single out there, to commit to someone special. Let a new chapter of your life begin. As far as finances go, there's a big boost in your business career prospects. Sagittarius, you too may go on a new adventure after the eclipse period. Interestingly, the chances of taking a religious or spiritual trip is something that you might consider. If you are in a creative field, you may see some changes that aren't in your favor, so you want to keep an eye out for that. Capricorn, if you're struggling to find a job, things will turn around for you. Around this time, your mental health may take a beating, so make sure you invest in some self-care. When we're struggling to find a job and all we hear is no, it could really hurt our self-esteem. So, do some affirmations and look in the mirror at how great you are. And finally, Pisces. The eclipse brings another chance to travel, another sign with travel in the horoscope. Also, you too, Pisces, be careful about your health during this period. You may want to start doing yoga or meditation and recharge your workout plan. So there you go for the stars, for all the signs, so we can really use this full moon to our advantage. So that's a wrap for today. We certainly did cover a lot of ground, didn't we? I wanted to remind you that I'm going to be at the Soul Shift Wellness Market on Saturday, the 14th of May, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It will be at the Winston Junction Market, 901 North Trade Street in downtown Winston-Salem. I hope to see you there.
Be sure to join us in 2 weeks for another episode of the Essential Zodiac podcast. On May 27th, it's the new moon in Gemini. You can find Essential Zodiac on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's all one word, Essential Zodiac. We hope you'll like, comment, and follow the Essential Zodiac podcast on your favorite podcast channels. And please be sure to share our podcast with your friends. The Essential Zodiac podcast is produced at Muddy Creek Studios.